Oh hey, it's Wes. And today, it's time to talk about the Movo WMX wireless mic system. Yep, here we are again, outside, and finally the snow has started to melt, so let's get talking. So today we're comparing the Movo to what's kind of become the gold standard, the Rode Wireless Go. So I've got that on one hip and the Movo on the other. They're approximately the same amount of exposure to the cameras. We've got the Rode on one camera and the Movo on the other. A little less convenient hooking up the Movo than the Rode, as you can see. And also, today is the day to ask the question, how much bokeh do we need? We've got one camera at 1.8, we've got one camera at 2.8. Which looks more natural? Which looks better to you? I don't know. So, let's listen to the sound of my voice. Right now, these mics are not equalized in any way. They're just as they are. And now I'm going to turn on the preset that I use for the Rode and tweak the Movo a little bit. I'll switch back and forth as I get further away here. I'll let you know down at the bottom of the screen which one I'm using. Things a little bit wet down here. So now I'm a good 50-60 feet away from the cameras. I'm gonna go disappear over here, see if there's any interference on the other side of the house. Can you hear me now? Testing the nice squishy backyard. I should have worn rubber boots, but I didn't think about that. And now here I am back out from behind the house. Did I cut out? I don't know. I'll find out later. I'm gonna try to get further away here without sinking up to my knees. Whoa, oh, it's squishy. Here we go. I put them on separate hips in hopes that they wouldn't interfere with each other. But I'm not even sure that they use the same frequency. I should have checked that before heading out here. These are the frequencies that they both use. Put them up on the screen there. Now I'm getting really far away from the cameras. Turning back around, maybe that'll help. In this particular neighborhood, there is very little wireless interference, much the same way as there was very little wireless interference in my last video with the Sony versus the Rode Go. So, wireless interference is not being tested right now. And here I am, about 100 feet away, at the edge of the woods. Honestly, I can't imagine any practical situation where you'd want to use a pack like this at this kind of distance. But hopefully they're working. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I'll give it a chance with me facing the other direction. Can you hear me now? I don't know. We'll find out. Now the neat thing about the Movo system is that it comes with two mic packs, two wireless and two lavs. So you can hook up one system with one camera that will give you two mics, one coming in the left channel, one coming in the right channel. Why would you want that? Well, some people recommend running the Rode into a left-right splitter so that you can get two Rode Go's into one camera. I've tried that. The sound is terrible. It changes the impedance. It's not designed to work that way. And so, when you're using the Movo that way, you have the one receiver that goes out in left and right from the two transmitters. So the sound is exactly the way it's supposed to be and not altered by any kludgy setups. Now, it is pretty easy to use two Rodes at the same time, but when I want to do that, I hook it up to two separate cameras, or you could use an external recorder with two inputs. That would give you the best sound quality. So, let me know what you think about these down in the comments and the sound. I haven't compared them yet A to B as I am right now, but I'm going to listen to that and then get back to you with the rest of the review on the inside. Let's head back in, guys. This is a much more conventional lav mic system to what people might be used to. But we're going to have to put it up against the Rode Wireless Go, the one that everyone's using. So I have a Rode Go here with the Rode lavalier, as well as the friend of this WMX. So the reason I have two of these, even though there's one in my pocket here, is that this is the WMX Duo system. And what the Duo gives you is two transmitters, one receiver. You can program the receiver to receive them both as a mono signal, spread it out, or you can program it to take it as stereo, one in each side. It's pretty convenient, pretty easy to use. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though. We'll talk about, as always, the build quality. The receiver and the transmitter are pretty much identical, and they have a bit of a lightweight plasticky feel to them, especially once you take the batteries out. There's not a lot to them. But at the same time, it's kind of a tried and true design. And you also get these screw-on connectors on the top here. All the connectors are that way. You can just plug them in if you want, or you can screw them in for a little bit of extra assurance. So overall, it's fine. It's not amazing. It's a 7 out of 10 for build quality. Feature set. So how does this stack up to what you might already be using or what you might be looking into? Well, you have I have rechargeable AA batteries in here. You can put whatever batteries you want in there, but it's AA's. I'm so glad it's not AAA's. Although it's great to have built-in rechargeable batteries, this can be just as convenient or more convenient. All depends on what you prefer. So I'm putting rechargeables in this. I think that I have already had over 5 hours of use on this. I've been using them for a lot of stuff to put it through its paces. And the battery is still working just fine in all the transmitter and the receivers. You have a pretty easy to read old school screen on the front of it here. Nothing revolutionary, no color. But at the same time, it's not just a 9-segment LCD. It's a full LCD screen. It's still a dot LCD screen, but it's backlit too if you want to use it. On this screen here, there's not a lot to actually do. You can change the channel and the ID of the transmitter. On the receiver is where you can change the volume. And you have volume control for each one, and you can change your channels again. There is no audio monitoring LEDs or display on the screen. That's a bit of a bummer these days, although you can put headphones directly onto the receiver, so you can monitor that way, but sometimes it's nice to know whether or not things are working just at a glance. The power button is also a mute button, very obvious in its design. Additionally, it comes in a little bit of over packaging, a nice box, but also an excessively nice case. In the case, you also get an XLR adapter for the receiver, as well as a cold shoe adapter. And a bunch of extra wind muffs. You get 4 in total. So that's nice, because those are pretty easy to lose. On the receiver, you can check the status of both battery levels, but you have to scroll through to do that. It's not immediately obvious, although the battery level is visible on the transmitters. And these transmit over the UHF spectrum, as I already said. This can be both positive or negative. It doesn't seem to maintain as solid a connection if you move around a little bit, much like the Socani's did, although not nearly as finicky. And so, whereas with the Rode, you have a very solid 2.4 gigahertz connection where they're really paired to each other. This one will go much further, will go through more, but it's a little bit flakier. So, to each their own, depends on what you think is useful. And one of the greatest features of this is that each one comes with a lapel. Now, this isn't the most discreet lapel mic. It's a little bit on the large side. As you can see, the Rode is much smaller. That's the tiny one on top, and the WMX is on the bottom there. Doesn't matter what it looks like for the most part, it matters what it sounds like. So, feature set, it's a decent feature set, not everything, it's an 8 out of 10. Sound quality. This is what matters, right? I mean, I kind of think it is. So, the sound actually surprised me. This is a lower cost option, talk about value later, but this has very smooth, very level, a little bit mid-heavy, but it's a vocal mic, so that's what you expect. It is easily edited and EQ'd to whatever sound you want. Unlike the Socani, which I found to be excessively sibilant and actually very difficult to pull out all that sibilance because it was such a broad, high spectrum, it's very similar to the Rode in that it's just a little bit mid-heavy, a little bit boomy, but all the information is there for you to alter in whatever way you want. That's great. This is pretty good quality, and you can just take it straight out, and it sounds fine. You can use it unedited if you want, but it's easy to clean up. However, I found that it's not super resistant to overdriving, so you've got to get your levels right, or these things sound pretty gross when you overdrive them. I can't complain too hard about that. Most systems are like that. So sound quality, it's great. It's not amazing shotgun mic quality, but it's an 8 out of 10. Usability. Now again, this is a classic design, so the positives for this is it's very self-explanatory. There's not much to figure out here. If you're used to mic packs, it's a mic pack. It would be nice if the lock button were a little bit easier to disable on this. You could either leave it enabled or disabled. As it is, when you get this thing locked, You gotta hold some buttons down for a little while, and then, you know, it's a little inconvenient. That's a bit of a nitpick though. It works great on the AA rechargeable batteries, so that's fine. You can swap them out super quick. And again, you have plug and play support for stereo audio. But there are some negatives to the usability here. Again, the connection just a little bit flaky over UHF. And here comes the big one. Depending on how good your ears and eye coordination is, you might have noticed at the beginning of this video, the lip sync is slightly off with this microphone. That's a huge bummer for me. So I measured it as best I could to be about 13 milliseconds. That's a very small amount of time. But then when you compare it to frame rates, that's about 1.3 frames of 60 FPS, which is what we're viewing right now. Now again, this might not be an issue to you because while I record at 60 FPS, if you record at 30 or 24 FPS, as unfortunately most people do, this becomes less than 1 frame of delay, and it's much less obvious. A lot of you, maybe even most of you, won't even notice the difference in the lip sync. But if we play the sound of the Rode in alignment, or what should be alignment, with the sound coming from the Movo, like right now, let me know what you think about these down in the comments and the sound. I haven't compared them yet A to B as I am right now, but I'm going to listen to that and then get back to you with the rest of the review on the inside. It's immediately obvious that we have a bit of an echo there because the Rode's coming in first and the Movo's coming in second, ever so slightly. I've reached out to Movo to ask them what they think about this. I haven't heard back yet. If they do tell me something, I will pin that in the comment at the top of the comments. Unfortunately, due to the lip sync problem on this, I can only give this a 6 out of 10 for usability. You can correct this in post. Easy peasy, you break out the audio, you slide it down 1 frame, and boom, it's fine. But this may or may not kill you, it may or may not be a deal breaker. So value. This is where this thing just kills it. So if you just get the single mic pack version, it's $150, receiver, transmitter, and lapel. If you get the dual version, it's $230. And honestly, that's where the value is. Now for me, when I want to use 2 mics, as I said earlier, I put one on each camera because it's hard to put 2 Rodes together. This one, I can squeeze both into 1 camera, no problem. So with the Rode Wireless Go, if you put a lapel mic on it, you're looking at $280. You put 2 of them together with lapel mics, $560. So although this is bigger, that's a pretty sweet value. There's other mic pack ones from Sennheiser, like around $600. Then there's the Rode Link Filmmaker, which is $300. That's about the equivalent of this. And, well, 300 times 2 is $600. That's way more than this costs. Then there's the low-cost version of the Rode, the Sony Tiny, $150. The closest that comes to this would be the Saramonic Blink, which is like the Rode, except there are 2 transmitters, 1 receiver. That's $250. It still costs more than this, and I don't know, I haven't tested it yet, but I'm a little questionable about the quality there. So, as I said before, that's the obvious selling point of this, is the value. This is a solid performer. It's a 10 out of 10 for value. So what's that give us? It's a total of 39 out of 50. That's actually a pretty decent score. I guess I should have said this at the beginning, but you might want to rewatch this with headphones on. I don't want to tell you what sounds good and what doesn't sound good. That's such a subjective thing, and everyone argued with me. Well, not everyone. 50% of people at least debated with me in my Sony video. It all depends on what you think sounds good, what sounds good on your speakers and your headphones. So, let me know what you think about the sound of this, what you think about the usability, and whether or not the lip sync issue is even a thing for you. Leave me a comment down below, we'll talk about that. So, until next time, if you want an easy way to capture 2 channels at once, you got it right here. And, wash your hands, and go take some photos.